Welcome back to the deep dive. So you've sent us a substantial stack of sources, articles, research papers, you name it, all focused on, well, one of the most critical parts of the employee journey, onboarding.
The really critical part.
Yeah, exactly. And today we are deep diving into people automation, specifically how organizations are using AI and these advanced workflows to completely change that new hire experience.
Right.
And the consensus across all this material, it really points to a familiar pain point. It's the traditional onboarding model.
That's a checklist.
The checklist. It's so rigid, kind of a soul-crushing list, and it just leaves new hires feeling adrift, disconnected or just buried under paperwork in those first few days.
It creates friction right away.
It does. So our mission here is to understand the mechanics of how AI and automation can streamline this, but maybe more importantly, how we make sure that the efficiency we get from the machine actually amplifies the human connection.
That's the key part.
We need to figure out how this blend of speed and a real personalized welcome is even achieved. Okay, let's unpack this and figure out what modern onboarding really looks like.
It's a great place to start because it's no longer just about optimizing paperwork. Not at all. It's about optimizing the experience.
Right.
And when we talk about people automation in onboarding, what we really mean is it's the strategic use of AI and workflow tech to manage all that administrative, procedural, and, logistical stuff of bringing someone new onto the team.
So all the grunt work, basically.
Pretty much. And think beyond the basics. Yes, it's sending the welcome packets and the compliance forms, but the real power is in its capacity for dynamic action.
What do you mean by dynamic?
I mean, instant zero-touch IT provisioning, so getting their credentials, software licenses, all of that, and automatically scheduling orientation or role-specific training.
Oh, okay.
What's really fascinating here is just how sophisticated these systems are now. They're not static. They can actually adapt the entire onboarding journey based on who the person is.
Based on their role.
Their role, their location, their seniority. It makes sure the whole journey is, hyper-relevant to them.
That adaptability sounds like that's the whole game. It's not just about speed. It's about removing the stress and the mental load that comes from not knowing what's next.
Precisely. If the system handles the logistics, the person is free to just absorb the culture and learn their job.
You remove the noise.
Exactly. You allow for immediate mental availability.
Okay, so let's talk business results. This sounds great on paper, but if you're talking to leadership, why should they spend serious money on automating what's always been a low-tech function? What's the core business case?
Good question.
The sources outline some immediate, really tangible benefits. They go straight to the bottom line. First, just the speed.
Yeah.
Automation leads to a much faster time to contribution. An employee who gets their laptop and their access on day 0 instead of day 5 is, obviously productive way sooner.
Sure.
And second, the reduction in errors and compliance risk is massive. Manual processes are they're breeding grounds for mistakes, missed signatures, wrong access levels.
All those little things that become big problems.
Exactly. And let's be honest, the administrative burden on HR is it's often unsustainable. They're spending up to, 40% of their time just chasing paperwork? Automation gives them that time back instantly.
And if we connect this to the bigger picture, the impact goes from just saving costs to strategic human capital management. The most compelling data in the sources is all about retention and performance. Structured, efficient, and personalized onboarding, which is all made possible by automation, is linked to way higher engagement scores and better long-term retention.
Right.
One of the papers you shared, it highlighted that some organizations saw an 18 to 25% improvement in 12-month retention rates when they switched from manual to AI-guided onboarding.
Wow, that's significant.
It is. And it's not just from efficiency. It's because critical steps like setting up a mentor don't get lost in the shuffle anymore. The automation forces it to happen.
I see.
So it frees up managers and HR to focus on the things you can't automate.
Yeah.
Building relationships, setting context for the role, and really immersing the new hire in the culture. It's about reallocating that very scarce manager bandwidth.
That idea, reallocation, is so critical because it gets to the core paradox here, right?
Mm-hmm.
The immediate fear is that automation makes the experience cold, robotic, People worried that AI is replacing the welcome.
Right.
But the consensus across all this material is that automation is actually an enabler of a deeper human connection.
It sounds counterintuitive, but it's true.
And here's where it gets really interesting. The ideal setup is machine efficiency handling all the logistics, which creates the space for real, high-value human interaction. The system manages the stuff, so people can focus on the self.
Exactly. Just think about the difference in cognitive demands. An AI assistant or a chatbot can handle 90% of the basic questions.
Like, when do I get paid? Or what's the PTO policy?
Exactly. Where's the nearest parking garage? By handling those high-volume, low-complexity questions instantly, you stop the HR person or the manager from constantly firefighting.
Which frees them up for
empathetic engagement. Instead of spending 15 minutes explaining the expense report system, a manager can have a real conversation.
asking things like, how are you feeling about the priorities we set?
Or what challenges do you see with the West Coast team? It's that shift from procedural to relational dialogue. That's the true value.
But do the sources address the risk of, I don't know, emotional detachment?
If the system is so good at everything, is there a risk the new hire just sees the organization as, purely procedural, that it lacks a human touch?
That's a crucial point, and the best implementations, they tackle this head-on with transparency. Employees need to know what the AI's role is.
So, setting expectations. You have to communicate clearly that the system is a support tool for logistics. It's there to remove obstacles, not to replace their manager or HR contact. That's vital for building trust.
Right.
And the systems aren't just pushing documents, they're used to proactively schedule human intervention.
Oh, that's interesting. So it's not just reactive.
Not at all. The system might see a new hire, finish their compliance training, and then it immediately triggers a calendar invite for a coffee meeting with a senior leader. It makes the human interaction feel intentional, not accidental.
So the system doesn't just automate tasks. It protects the essential human tasks from being forgotten in the chaos.
Exactly. It safeguards them.
Okay, so let's pivot from the theory to the practical steps. If a company is starting from scratch, what's the implementation roadmap that the sources recommend?
Right. How do you actually build this?
Yeah. The roadmap in the material is pretty comprehensive. Phase 1 is all discovery and mapping. You have to meticulously map every single micro step of the current onboarding journey.
And not just the official stuff.
Everything. Compliance, IT, shadowing, mentor intros, team integration. This audit shows you where the real bottlenecks are.
Okay.
Phase 2 is identifying what to automate. And the criteria are specific. They have to be high-volume, repetitive tasks that are prone to error. Those are your low-hanging fruit.
The quick wins.
Exactly. Then phase 3 is platform selection. You need a platform that's flexible, that can handle complex logic. A sales rep in Germany needs a totally different track than an engineer in San Francisco.
And that phase 3 is where things often stall, because you have to talk about the guardrails. While we're automating processes, organizations have to be diligent about defining and protecting mandatory human milestones.
Things that are non-negotiable.
Completely non-negotiable. The sources cite specific examples.
Yeah.
The manager's personal welcome call before day one, a team lunch or virtual coffee in the first 72 hours, and a mandatory 30-day check-in that is purely about cultural fit and how they're feeling.
So you hard code those human moments into the process.
You have to. You prioritize them.
And beyond those interpersonal guardrails, what about the technical and legal integrity?
Yeah.
You're connecting sensitive HR data with IT systems. The risks seem huge.
They are.
The sources specifically warn about data leakage, about the risks of deep system integration. You have to ensure data privacy, GDPR, all of that is built in from the very beginning. You can't just bolt it on later.
And this raises an important question about algorithmic fairness and oversight.
How so?
Well, automation systems are only as unbiased as the data they're trained on. If the system uses historical data to decide the pacing of training or who gets what task, there's a serious risk you just end up perpetuating old biases.
That's a huge problem.
It is, which is why continuous improvement is mandatory. You have to monitor the outcomes, not just speed, but things like new hire satisfaction scores and manager feedback. You need feedback loops to constantly refine the journey.
So it's a living system, not a set-it-and-forget-it tool.
Never. And auditing has to be systematic. You have to check regularly for fairness, for clarity, and to make sure it aligns with your company's values. You're automating the checklist, not the feeling of belonging.
That's the core of it, isn't it?
I think so. You're trying to use predictive analytics not to replace the manager, but to tell the manager exactly where their personal intervention is needed most, who might be falling behind, who needs a high-touch boost.
That brings us full circle. So what does this all mean for you, the listener, who's thinking about bringing this into your own organization?
The big takeaway.
Yeah, the synthesis is pretty strong. The thoughtful application of people automation lets organizations deliver an onboarding experience that is efficient, consistent, and deeply tailored to the individual. When you approach automation as a capacity creator, not just a cost cutter, it becomes a powerful amplifier of the human touch.
Well said.
It frees up your people from the minutia so they can focus on making sure new hires feel welcomed, capable, and engaged from that very first interaction. That initial moment is just too valuable to leave to bureaucracy.
And this transition really elevates leadership. So if automation succeeds in getting rid of all that logistical friction, we want you to consider the ultimate application of this new free time.
Okay.
We want you to think about this. What is the single most valuable, non-automated conversation? The one that establishes purpose, trust, and psychological safety that a manager should commit to having with every new hire in their very first week, now that the machine has handled all the administrative noise. That conversation, that's the real key to retention and performance.